Our protagonist is a handsome and dashing young man with a captivating look that charms everyone. His name is Tu Shen, a man who was reborn after the apocalypse. In his past life, he was just an ordinary food delivery guy, witnessing the end of the world firsthand and having to fight to stay alive in a world filled with chaos and extreme shortages. Because of that, in this life, he uses his spatial powers and space-jumping abilities to prepare for the coming doomsday. He hoards supplies to ensure his own survival. During this journey, Tu Shen faces challenges from relatives and former friends, especially that woman, the ex-girlfriend who betrayed him in his previous life. He's determined to get revenge on those who backstabbed him, while accumulating assets and wealth to prepare for life in a world on the brink of collapse. All right, enough with the long-winded intro. Let's dive right in. A massive explosion has just occurred. Debris is flying everywhere. Even the city's buildings have been affected. Crimson smoke billows out intensely, creating blue lightning strikes that pierce the sky. A rescue plane is moving into the area. On the streets, under the traffic lights, remnants of the explosion fill the air. A bus is driving quite fast, picking up residents to take them to safety. Inside, crowds of passengers are evacuating the disaster zone. A man in a blue shirt keeps swearing, "Motherfucker!" A few days ago, it was an undersea earthquake and Mount Fuji erupting, hundreds of thousands dead in just a matter of days. Who would have thought that today, even we would have to evacuate? A beautiful girl in a revealing outfit, looking sexy, with her curves on full display, has a face full of anxiety. This is bad. I left in such a hurry that I didn't bring anything. I'll just have to go to Jiangnan City to buy some supplies. The guy in the blue shirt panicked, breaking into a cold sweat. Gorgeous, haven't you seen the news? All the inventory in the warehouses in Jiangnan City has been completely cleared out. She shrieked in shock. What? Right after she said that, a young man with a crew cut sitting opposite them couldn't help but chime in. That's old news. Today, even Dongming Lake in Shenzhen has dried up. The RT Mart warehouses have been emptied too. Hearing this, both she and the blue shirt guy were startled. They blurted out in unison, "No way! All those supplies combined must be worth hundreds of billions." Suddenly, an unfamiliar voice from behind interrupted their conversation. "It's not just a few hundred billion. It's likely tens of trillions. Vanishing supplies and these disasters are all signs. Open your eyes and look, the apocalypse is coming." Turning around, there was a young man with a handsome face and sharp eyes, sitting with his chin resting on his hand. He looked incredibly cool. Hearing such an absurd statement from him, the girl froze for a moment. Once she regained her composure, she exclaimed, "No way, the apocalypse." The guy in the blue shirt laughed mockingly. "What kind of joke is that? If it really were the end of the world, I'd actually be kind of looking forward to it. That's when everyone finally becomes equal." Hearing that delusional comment, a dark aura appeared around the young man's head. He asked himself, everyone equal, even if the world ends? There will never be a day when everyone is equal. This was because the young man had lived through it in his past life. He had been just an ordinary delivery driver, just like anyone else. On a typical day while out making deliveries, he had witnessed the apocalypse descend firsthand, triggered by an abnormal flare-up of solar energy. The Earth's core began to expand rapidly. Temperatures soared, and crustal movements became frequent. Monsters lurking deep underground began to crawl to the surface. The entire world changed. A new world, a new order. In a world where supplies were incredibly scarce, even a single pack of instant noodles could drive people to lose their sanity out of sheer hunger. Even just for a single sausage, girls would sell their bodies without hesitation. And our protagonist was reborn from a post-apocalyptic world like that to a month before the end began. Suddenly, the voice and flirtatious actions of a girl broke his train of thought. "Hey, handsome." She linked her arm with his, letting her soft parts rub accidentally against him. She leaned in close, her cheeks blushing as she looked up and whispered, "What you just said, it kind of scared me. I wonder if you could—" But before she could even finish her sentence, he quickly pulled his arm away. He waved her off and said, "Sorry, sweetheart. I've got way more important things to do." Watching the young man walk away, she stood there stunned, doubting her own feminine charms. With a cold expression, the guy got off the bus. He looked up, his mind already racing with calculations. With doomsday approaching, what is the single most important thing? Supplies, obviously. He stood there pensively gazing at the building in front of him. "In my past life, Mr. Hippo, all my time was wasted just hunting for food. This time I have to be fully prepared." He walked over to the rack, grabbed his uniform, and threw it on. He then stepped inside the warehouse. The boss, upon seeing the young man, immediately scowled and started nitpicking. "You're 21 seconds late. That's half a day's pay docked." Even with the status of a main character, he couldn't escape the exploitation of capitalism. He sighed, ran a hand through his hair, and spoke politely to the boss. Sorry about that. Once inside, his expression instantly did a 180-degree flip. Remembering his past life when the apocalypse hit, the boss was the first to bail. A whole year's worth of his wages just vanished into thin air, so he considered these supplies as his rightful compensation. He took heavy, deliberate steps forward. The rhythmic clack-clack of his shoes hitting the floor sounded satisfyingly crisp. Stopping between two aisles, he said, "Might as well take it all." Then he waved his hand, chanting a secret incantation. Spatial portal open. At his command, a shimmering ethereal space appeared, followed by a notification panel popping up. Rice detected. Cooking oil and meat all being automatically collected. He spread his arms wide. This was his dimensional space ability. As long as the space was open, everything in the vicinity would enter a three-dimensional pocket spanning 10,000 meters cubed, controlled by his thoughts. It made shopping for free extremely convenient. Using this power, he had already drained 2 lakes and harvested everything in the city that was destined for destruction during the apocalypse. He looked up at the fish swimming lively in the tank. During the end times, even a pack of noodles is a luxury, let alone fresh food. But inside this space, time completely stands still. No matter how long it's stored, the food stays fresh as can be. Overwhelmed with emotion, he wept tears of joy. Finally, he wouldn't have to resort to eating dirt like he did in his previous life. Suddenly, the display screen flashed another notification. List of supplies harvested in this batch. Looking at the soaring numbers, he thought to himself, with this much stuff, I can finally relax. Suddenly, muffled voices echoed from outside. The door was slowly being opened. The boss walked in, followed by 2 employees. He gave the order for the 2 men to move the crates out. But to their absolute shock, every single crate was gone. Only the young man stood there by himself. The boss stepped forward, his face red with rage, screaming, "Where the hell did all the goods go?" As he yelled, he jabbed a finger aggressively at the guy. But Tushin just stood his ground perfectly calm. He gently raised his hand to open his dimensional space. He replied with a nonchalant voice, "I've already taken all the stuff." Startled by the smug answer of the 3 men, the boss panicked and blurted out, "What?" Seeing his subordinate acting so flippant, the boss barked, calling him a bastard. He then ordered the 2 employees to seize him. Tushin remained chill despite his boss's threats. Taking a small step back, a transparent portal appeared behind him. He didn't forget to throw a sarcastic jab at the boss, saying he wouldn't be clocking in late anymore. The 2 employees rushed forward to catch him, but before they could touch him, he vanished into thin air, leaving only the image of his hands waving bye-bye. The 3 men stood there staring at each other in total shock, unable to believe what had just happened. They kept looking around frantically, searching for his silhouette. The boss, his face twisted in disbelief, stuttered, "Vanished!" Meanwhile, outside the building, his spatial rift suddenly manifested. Then his figure gradually emerged. He performed several mid-air flips, sticking the landing in a perfect pose. Glancing back at the fading rift, his face was full of satisfaction. This was his second ability, Spatial Blink. He could teleport within a 3-meter range. When the apocalypse comes, relying on this power, he could enter ruined structures to scavenge supplies and safely retreat. Even when facing mutant beasts or anomalies, Spatial Blink could save his life. At the clutch moment, remembering his uniform jacket, he quickly peeled it off and tossed it into the air with a gleeful look. He continued, "And that's a wrap on the 5-finger discount." He strode down the street with newfound confidence. Suddenly, his phone started ringing in his pocket. Looking at the alerts on the screen, warning: intense Earth crustal activity detected. Localized natural disasters imminent. Citizens, please take precautions. Currently, everything is under control, but will not affect the daily lives of the public. Please do not panic. Watching the announcements from the government's Disaster Management Bureau, he was taken aback. The government is terrified of a mass panic. Do they already know the apocalypse is coming? His phone started ringing again. He furrowed his brows deeply as he saw the caller's name, Jiang Xiaosheng. His hands momentarily trembled. Is it really her? Collecting his emotions, he let out a heavy sigh. He then slowly brought the phone to his ear. "Hello." A voice blared from the other end of the line. She called him Tushin, immediately chewing him out for pulling a disappearing act on her. She found out he'd even listed his house with a broker. Why was he being such a flake? Did he really think that after selling his place, any girl would still want to be with him? The girl on the other end was currently getting all dolled up in front of a mirror. With her bright red lips and full mouth, she kept nagging him about a man's responsibilities. Even though she claimed she didn't care about his house, she argued that as a girl, if he didn't give her the house, she wouldn't feel secure being with him. Meanwhile, behind her, a buff guy with a six-pack was sprawling out on the bed. It looked like they had just finished a round of foreplay. Hearing this, his patience completely snapped. He asked in a low, stern voice, "Is there anything else?" She screamed, "What's with the attitude?" She told him she'd give him one last chance. Come back right now and transfer the house to her, otherwise he could forget about ever marrying her. At this point, he had reached his absolute limit. He spoke up, saying he was on his way back to Shangdu. "We'll talk when I get there." Then he abruptly hung up. He looked pensive as memories of his past life flooded back. In his previous life, he spent 5 years of the apocalypse with her. He was the one who scavenged everywhere for supplies to feed Zhang Xiaosheng and keep her safe. If it hadn't been for him, she would have starved to death in the apocalypse a long time ago. And yet that woman... He looked at his phone with a somber expression, as the resentment from his past life resurfaced. Her lover was Wang Haoyu. That man had approached him with a knife and stabbed him in the back, taking Tushin's life. He still vividly remembered that bastard's filthy, smug tone. "Hey, Shin, why have you been coming back empty-handed lately, all the good stuff? You didn't hide it all for yourself, did you?" Then he had collapsed to the floor, face pale, his wound bleeding uncontrollably. With his own eyes, he watched that cheating couple fooling around on the bed. Wang Haoyu slowly unbuttoned his shirt, looking at Zhang Xiaosheng lying on the bed, her fair skin exposed. Wang Haoyu was all worked up, saying Tushin was useless now. Next, the two of them. Zhang Xiaosheng suddenly cut him off. She pushed him playfully and said, "Don't think she didn't know what he was thinking." Tushin being dead was useless, but whether Wang Haoyu was useless or not depended on his performance tonight. Tushin had been filled with rage, witnessing that disgusting scene right before him. He died without even being able to close his eyes. In his past life, he was truly a fool, placing his trust in someone like her. But this time, Wang Haoyu and Zhang Xiaosheng, he would make them pay the price. Suddenly remembering something, he let out a sigh, then closed his eyes to calculate his options. The remaining things could only be bought with cash. He quickly checked his contacts and called someone named Manager Liu. The manager picked up and he spoke urgently. Even if he had to sell his house for half price, it didn't matter. He just needed cash and he needed it right now. After that, Tushin quickly headed back to Shangdu. The yellow taxi stopped right in front of a residential complex. Zhang Xiaosheng and Wang Haoyu were already standing there, waiting for him. She stood with her arms crossed, her tone biting. Did Tushin have any idea how long she'd been waiting? But much to their surprise, Tushin didn't pay the slightest attention to her words. He brushed past them and quickly headed inside. Wang Haoyu stood in front of him, clutching a baseball bat in his hand, acting like some big-shot tough guy, who gave Tushin permission to sell his and Zhang Xiaosheng's house. He threatened that he could make sure Tushin never sees the light of day again. Nope. Enraged, Tushin's hand shot out instantly, hoisting Wang Haoyu up as panic washed over his face. Before he could even let out a whimper, he was being choked out. Tushin slammed Wang Haoyu onto the ground like a piece of broken trash. He growled, "My stuff. I'll do whatever the hell I want with it." The impact against the concrete was so violent that he could only let out a pained scream. Zhang Xiaosheng, with her massive melons, lost her mind seeing her lover getting wrecked. She rushed over and grabbed Tushin's shirt, yelling, "Let him go! What the hell do you think you're doing? Help someone help, he's a murderer." Refusing to let her keep yapping, Tushin immediately gifted her a stinging slap to the face, sending her flying back. She landed flat on her back on the ground. Clutching her throbbing face, she was paralyzed with shock. She never imagined that Tushin would ever dare to hit her that hard. Meanwhile, Wang Haoyu looked like a dying dog in a cage, totally crushed by Tushin's terrifying strength. His face turned purple as he kept choking out, "Let go!" Seeing that pathetic low-life display, Tushin let out a contemptuous smirk. His eyes instantly flared with murderous intent. He added a little bonus threat. "Relax. Your dog life isn't going to end just yet." Terrified by Tushin's bizarre transformation, Wang Haoyu scrambled backward on all fours. He clutched his throat, coughing violently. Looking at the man who was now pale with fear, Tushin walked away with a triumphant stride. Seeing Tushin leave, she rushed to Haoyu's side, fussing over him in a panic. Despite looking like a mess, he was as stubborn as a damn leech. She watched him shivering uncontrollably. She immediately went into toxic mode, cranking up the volume and screaming, "Get on your knees and apologize before I really lose it. If you don't even dream of marrying someone like me for the rest of your life." Tushin turned back and shot them a look so sharp, it nearly made them piss themselves in terror. They immediately turned tail and ran, but didn't forget to drop a typical noob line, "You just wait and see." Witnessing the clown show that just went down, Tushin let out a disdainful sigh. Absolute losers. The scene shifts to a room where a hand respectfully offers a cup of tea to Tushin. Mr. Tu, I've agreed to buy your house. What do you think of the offer? On the surface, he was all smiles, but in his head, he was laughing at Tushin for being an idiot. A house worth over $1 million, and he's selling it for just $700,000. All I have to do is flip it, and I'll make a quick few $100,000. This guy must be high on something. Ignoring the old man's posturing, Tushin stayed focused on his goal. He spoke up. Fine, but I need the full payment. Can you pay the full amount today? Seeing that Tushin wasn't changing his mind, the man felt like he had struck gold and replied, Of course, we'll sign the contract and pay now, and we can handle the title transfer next week. He held the contract in his hand, glancing over it for a few seconds just for show, before nodding in agreement. But a dark thought crossed his mind. When that time comes, the house is all yours, if you even dare to live in it. About 3 seconds later, a ding sound rang out. I bet everyone here loves the sound of that notification. It was a bank transfer alert. His account in Chengdu had just been credited with $700,000. Once everything was finalized, Tushin immediately left looking deep in thought. Even though a lot of bad luck had happened today, Chengdu was located deep inland on the Central Plains. Earthquakes, tsunamis, and volcanic eruptions were all happening far away from here. With the official debunking of the rumors, life here remained very orderly. As he was walking leisurely, he suddenly caught sight of a quick loan advertisement. He was immediately drawn to it. He quickly turned back and studied it for a long while. Finally, his familiar voice rang out, Hello? Is this the Loan Shark Company? I have a real estate certificate. Can I use it as collateral? The scene shifts to the base of a skyscraper. This was the headquarters of the Dahai Loan Shark Company. Inside a certain room, Tushin was sitting comfortably. A voice spoke up. Hey, pretty boy. This house of yours isn't worth much. Tushin immediately asked, So how much can I borrow? At that moment, he thought to himself, so it's this guy. He was Wang Haoyu's boss. His name was Wang Dahai, who in the previous life died, inside the jaws of a mutated beast. Interrupting his train of thought, Dahai held a cigarette in his hand, puffing away with an arrogant look as he replied, At most you can borrow $500,000, but you have to leave the deed with me. Tushin quickly stood up, slammed his hand on the table, and said decisively, Make it another $100,000, and I'll close the deal right now. Don't worry, just give me a week. I'll win back what I lost and pay you back. He looked up at Tushin, thinking to himself, so he's just another gambler. Once they're hooked, they'd sell their own parents. And he actually thinks he can win it back. Dumbass, just wait until I bleed you dry today. After a moment, he said to Tushin, As long as you leave the deed, we can make this happen easily. 3 seconds later, a notification popped up on his phone screen. Received CNY 600,000. Meanwhile, outside a building elsewhere, Zhang Xiaosheng and Wang Haoyu just got out of a taxi. As she stepped down, she was still fuming about what happened earlier, constantly cursing Tushin for being a lowlife, who dared to actually put his hands on her. She still wanted to teach Tushin a lesson. Wang Haoyu was also busy gaslighting her, telling her he'd get his boss to take Tushin out. Suddenly, she spotted Tushin's figure, walking out and called over Xiaoyu to confirm if it was really Tushin. Xiaoyu confirmed to her that it was indeed him. Then they wondered why he was even there. They decided to tail him to see where he was going and what he was up to. Arriving at the entrance of the Liu Sheng Hotel, Tushin recalled from his past memories that many commercial buildings were swallowed up by the surging seawater and the freezing cold, collapsing almost instantly. Only the Liu Sheng Hotel was able to withstand all kinds of natural disasters. He had also heard that the presidential suites were fully equipped with every luxury imaginable, even including private swimming pools. So he really wanted to stay here and use it as his base of operations. He then hurried inside. As he walked, he thought to himself, even though I have many empty warehouses, they lack hot food and fresh vegetables. Suddenly, he was interrupted by the voice of a female manager. She introduced herself as Liu Siner, the food and beverage manager there, and said she'd be happy to help him with anything. Tushin approached her and said he wanted to order 1,000 banquet tables, asking if the hotel could handle such an order. The manager was stunned, asking 1,000 tables. After regaining her composure, she managed to smile and told him that they could customize the order any way he liked. There were tables for 5,000, 10,000, and even 30,000 or 100,000 upstairs. Secretly, she was thrilled, thinking he was some low-key trust fund baby. Tushin didn't hesitate and told her he wanted the 10,000 per table option. Totaling 1,000 tables, that's 10 million. He offered a 500,000 down payment, with the balance to be paid upon delivery to his address. He thought to himself, The standards at this hotel are really top tier. Hearing this, the manager was beaming with joy. She quickly agreed to Tushin's request and offered to lead him over to process the payment. After walking a few steps, she suddenly came to a halt. It turned out she didn't know what she should call him yet. Tushin replied very casually. He told her she could just call him Tu. Oh my God, look at this angle, guys. The manager girl's sheer dress is clearly visible, showing off her juicy curves. It's quite a sight to behold. She then asked him if he was booking the tables for a wedding. Tushin calmly replied, "That's right, for a wedding. And please book a presidential suite for me as well." Everything went smoothly and Tushin walked out of the hotel. A smile suddenly appeared on his face. He was thinking 10 million for the food, and the 500,000 deposit is already done. That will be the final payment. During the scorching heat of the apocalypse, even a block of ice could be worth hundreds of millions. After Tushin left, the manager girl was grinning from ear to ear. She kept exclaiming, "Whoever marries him is going to be so lucky." He even rented the presidential suite for their honeymoon. Suddenly, Zhang Xiaosheng and that Xiao Yu guy showed up. They rushed over to ask the manager what Tushin was just doing here. The manager looked confused and asked Zhang Xiaosheng who she was to be asking that. Zhang Xiaosheng put on quite an act. She told her that she was Tushin's girlfriend. The manager hesitated for a moment, but eventually, she decided to tell Zhang Xiaosheng everything, even complimenting her on how lucky she was to have Tushin. But deep down, she was feeling jealous, thinking Zhang Xiaosheng was uglier than her, yet so lucky. After hearing what the manager said, the cheating couple Zhang Xiaosheng and Xiao Yu were quite shocked, to say the least. They couldn't believe Tushin had that much money. The hot manager then explained that rich people love to play the undercover game. It's because they're worried their partner might have ulterior motives. So they wait until the wedding day to reveal it all. Zhang Xiaosheng quickly lost her cool. She stood tall, puffing out her chest and arching her back. She clenched her fists and raised her voice at the manager. She spoke with a voice full of bitterness. Tushin suddenly pulled a disappearing act, and then even used force to mentally threaten her. Xiao Yu didn't want to back down either. He also kept calling Tushin a damn jerk, and asked the manager once more, "Is Tushin really a man of means?" The manager girl wanted to get this over with at this point. Without any hesitation, she showed them the notification of the successful 500,000 transfer to the hotel. A moment later, they walked out of there. The toxic couple led each other to rest on a stone bench in front of the hotel. Xiao Yu, puffing on a cigarette, looked up and asked Zhang Xiaosheng, "I wonder who Tushin plans to invite to those 1,000 tables?" Zhang Xiaosheng burst out laughing like a maniac. Her heavy, forbidden fruits jiggled with every burst of laughter. She still believed that the wedding and that presidential suite were meant for her. She even thought Tushin would introduce her to the high-class elite. Xiao Yu quickly stood up, his eyes and wandering hands eyeing those two juicy, forbidden fruits. He blurted out, "I don't know what we should do next." Zhang Xiaosheng shot a sharp glare toward his hands, her tone filled with anger. She wanted to take the initiative and strike first so Tushin wouldn't be able to react. In her mind, she was imagining a scenario where she lived like a queen in a magnificent palace. As for Tushin, at this moment, he was sitting at a table by the window, constantly calculating the expenses he had incurred. Then he suddenly thought of his previous $0 shopping spree. There were still many items he hadn't managed to get yet. Suddenly, he broke into a devious smile. He came up with a plan. He would take out online loans using his ID card. Then he downloaded over 80 apps all at once, taking photos in 36 different poses. The online loan amount was 30,000 NDT each. A moment later, looking at his phone screen, Tushin had successfully secured 9.7 million in loans. He flopped onto the bed overjoyed. He had a smug, satisfied look on his face, but suddenly something crossed his mind. He sat up abruptly, looking a bit awkward. He didn't want to waste any time napping during the day, because there was still a mountain of stuff he needed to buy. Flicking through his phone in his hand, the first items he thought of were wall-mounted fireplaces, ice makers, and coal. However, none of those things were available in the city. Luckily, online shopping was an option, and the delivery was actually pretty fast. He figured that after the extreme heat would come extreme cold. Whether he could survive or not depended on if he had enough of these two things. He quickly grabbed his phone to call a coal supplier, asking for the current market price. Once he found a reasonable price, he ordered 2,000 tons of coal and told the owner that money was no object to him. He would transfer 500,000 up front, and the rest would be paid upon delivery. With the coal situation sorted, now he needed ice cubes. He arranged to meet the owner of an ice factory. On the way there, he ran into Li Na and Zhang Xiaosheng. Li Na waved to him and said Xiaosheng was always thinking about him. She was the one who was always trash-talking him behind his back, and the one who encouraged Zhang Xiaosheng to seize his house. He gave them a stone-cold response, not forgetting to ask if she missed him, or just missed his house. Lena kept trying to cover for her best friend. She claimed it was just a test that Xiaosheng was using to check his feelings, but he was totally overreacting. Now Xiaosheng was heartbroken because of his attitude. Suddenly, Zhang Xiaosheng rushed forward and grabbed his hand. With those two juicy forbidden fruits, fair skin and blushing cheeks, she started her little performance. She asked Tu Shen if he wanted to go somewhere with her. She claimed she was in a really bad mood. Since she pissed Tu Shen off yesterday, she wanted to apologize to him. Not giving her another chance to act all clingy, Tu Shen brushed her off and decided to leave. He didn't forget to drop a cold remark that he was very busy today, and told her to go for a walk by herself. Seeing Tu Shen drive away without a second thought, Zhang Xiaosheng's eyes widened in disbelief. She put her hands to her chest, acting shocked. She thought that Tu Shen was just putting on an act, and that he truly loved her. Then the two girls quickly hopped into a nearby taxi. Li Na frantically told Xiaosheng to hurry up and follow him, claiming this was definitely his way of testing Xiaosheng. A while later, Tu Shen pulled up in front of the Vinhwa ice factory. Seeing a customer arrive, a chubby man slowly approached. As soon as Tu Shen stepped out of the car, he rushed to greet him with a firm handshake, acting like he'd just struck gold. He asked if he was Mr. Tu, and kept going on, praising him for being so young and successful. Of course, Tu Shen didn't care for the flattery. He was only here to ask when his order of 2,000 tons of ice would be ready. The man beamed with joy, laughing out loud as he assured Tu Shen he wouldn't brag about anything else, but when it came to his company's efficiency, nobody could touch them. As the best in the business, he only needed 3 days to finish it, and wanted to settle on a price of 800,000. At this point, money was no longer a major concern for him. He quickly agreed. Immediately after, he pulled out his phone to pay a deposit of 100,000. He arranged to have the goods delivered in 3 days and then pay the balance. Hearing that the money was coming in, the man didn't waste any time. He immediately handed his phone to Tu Shen. About 3 seconds after scanning the QR code, looking at his phone screen, the man couldn't hide his excitement over the funds that had been transferred. He repeatedly asked Tu Shen why he needed so much ice. Is there some kind of large-scale event going on? He didn't hesitate at all to offer some sweet deals for future collaborations. Once the business was taken care of, Tu Shen quickly opened his car door to head out. He turned back and told the man with a smirk that he was heading to the Ansha district for charity work. Watching Tu Shen drive off, the man finally let his thoughts wander. He thought that closing an 800,000 deal in just a heartbeat really showed how efficient young people are these days. Interrupting his train of thought, right at that moment, another car pulled up right in front of the company. The man wondered in surprise. Maybe another big spender was here to do business. But why didn't they have an appointment? Approaching were Zhang Xiaosheng and her bestie Li Na. She kept striking provocative poses. The older man slowly walked over to them. She once again claimed to be Tu Shen's fiancé and wanted to ask what Tu Shen was doing there just now. Looking at the sexy girl right in front of him, the man couldn't help but have some thoughts. Fiancé, huh? Is this some kind of spy game? Beads of sweat began to appear, and his eyebrows furrowed. He told her that Tu Shen had just placed an order for 800,000 worth of ice. Hearing such a huge amount just for ice, the two girls' jaws dropped. They thought to themselves that Tu Shen must be a total whale. Lena regained her composure a little. Then she stepped closer and asked him what the purpose was of Tu Shen buying so much ice. The man looked up, stroking his stubble, and told her that Tu Shen bought the ice for charity. Scene cuts to a restaurant somewhere. By now, Tu Shen felt he had finished ordering all the essentials, and with the time he had left, he wanted to enjoy himself before the apocalypse hit. In his past life, he was way too busy with work. Forget high-end restaurants. He didn't even have time to step into a coffee shop. Suddenly, a waitress walked over. She greeted him and asked what he would like to eat. Holding the menu in his hand, Tu Shen couldn't help but sigh at the pan-seared foie gras braised frog and salted duck tongues in wine sauce. Every single dish cost at least 4 figures. Flipping to another page, Tu Shen was shocked to see a giant question mark, priced at a whopping 17,000. Startled, he asked the waitress what was up with that. She didn't hesitate to explain that this was a signature dish personally prepared by head chef Ya Lin. As for what exactly it was, that depended entirely on the chef's inspiration at the moment. Hearing this, Tu Shen found it quite intriguing. He decided to order it. While waiting for his meal, he reached for a book on the nearby shelf. A copy of the classic of Mountains and Seas caught his eye. He thought about how, in his past life when the catastrophe struck, a mysterious power caused many creatures to mutate into abnormalities. The mythical beasts described in the Classic of Mountains and Seas looked exactly like the monsters he saw in his previous life. Technically speaking, these mutations were actually cases of atavism, ancestral traits that had been dormant for generations, suddenly reappearing in the offspring. Things like growing tails or thick fur, for example. Interrupting his thoughts, a beautiful woman walked up and introduced herself as Ya-Lin, the head chef of the restaurant. She was carrying a dish that looked quite interesting. It was crafted to match his vibe. Looking up at her, Tu Shen was suddenly jolted by a memory. In the apocalypse of his previous life, she was known as the Hell Chef. Duanya, she had the skill to turn rotten filth into delicious gourmet meals. No one could resist the temptation. But those dishes were made from the meat of mutant beasts. Anyone who ate them was doomed to die. Seeing his panicked expression, she couldn't help but ask if he was afraid a gorgeous girl like her would poison his food. Then with a subtle smile, she told him, "This dish represents the two sides of life. One side pan-seared with oil, and the other fried in puff pastry, a single steak, with two distinct flavor profiles. It was bound to leave him wanting more." "That sounds tempting." Tu Shen quickly took a bite to savor it. He couldn't stop praising her talent, and at this 10,000 price point, it was definitely worth every penny. Then some thoughts suddenly popped into his head. He wanted her to be his personal chef when the apocalypse hit. But then he shut the idea down. Never mind. Heaven only knows if she would slip some poison into his food. Meanwhile, outside the restaurant, the two girls were spying on Tu Shen. Suddenly, Li Na whispered to Xiaosheng, this was a restaurant where prices easily topped 10 grand. Tu Shen was definitely a second-generation rich kid. She kept gushing about how Xiaosheng was about to become a wealthy trophy wife. The scene shifts to the Century Bar, the most debauched hotspot in Chengdu. Sitting on a sofa with a pensive look, Tu Shen thought to himself, rich kids used to blow 2 million here like it was nothing. Yet he didn't even know what abalone or shark fin even looked like. But once the apocalypse comes, decadent places like this will be a thing of the past. He suddenly felt a pang of regret for never having stepped foot in here, even once in his previous life. Breaking his train of thought, a group of party girls kept flirting with him. Seeing him just holding his drink, they kept asking why he wasn't drinking. Then one girl challenged him to bottom up a glass with her. As he raised his glass, his attention was suddenly caught by a girl sitting nearby. Another girl came over to pour a drink and mentioned that the girl sitting over, there was also a first-timer here. Apparently her boyfriend cheated on her, so she came here to blow off some steam. Suddenly the girl sitting nearby interrupted. He called her boyfriend a total scumbag, since she wouldn't sleep with him. He went off to find some sugar mommy to get his rocks off. Now she believed that every man in this world only cares about getting into a woman's pants. Tu Shen immediately spoke up to disagree. He said it's only natural for men to be visual creatures, because it's already rooted deep in the bone. With a sad face, the girl took her glass and chugged it in one go. Tu Shen sat there with his jaw dropped, wondering if that was even actual liquor. She slammed the glass down on the table. Bam! The girl was clearly starting to feel the buzz. She turned to look at him and asked if he had a girlfriend yet. Tu Shen, still in shock, stammered, yeah. Right after that, she leaned in close, shoving her forbidden fruits right in his face. Then her wandering hand started caressing his thigh, and she suddenly asked him if he wanted to get busy. Right then, Zhang Xiaosheng and Li Na stepped inside. They were frantically searching everywhere. Finally, they spotted him sitting with Wan Wan holding hands, all lovey-dovey. Zhang Xiaosheng screamed, "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Her friend Li Na wasted no time adding fuel to the fire, saying that he was probably cheating. In an instant, both of their faces were filled with murderous intent. Seeing those two girls show up, Tu Shen quickly told Wan Wan to come outside with him. Surprised by the sudden invitation, Wan Wan thought he had some serious big man energy. Then, Tu Shen grabbed Wan Wan's hand and rushed up the stairs. Seeing Tu Shen heading upstairs with a strange girl, the two girls were determined to chase after them, to catch him and demand an explanation. Once Tu Shen got Wan Wan upstairs, he quickly pulled her into a room. Standing behind the door, Tu Shen casually put his arm around Wan Wan's soft waist and kept apologizing to her because of those two girls. Wan Wan didn't mind that at all. She was thinking she was about to get eaten right then and there. Her cheeks flushed bright red as she told him it was her first time. Tu Shen was taken aback and looked at her. Then he flicked Wan Wan's forehead with a sharp snap, asking if she was drunk to be talking like that. Looking at this hot, cute girl, Tu Shen felt a bit of pity for her. So he told her not to go out in the near future and that she should stockpile more food. Wan Wan was still blushing with embarrassment. She quickly replied, okay, just to brush it off. Opening the door to leave the room, Tu Shen called back to her. telling her she shouldn't look for a boyfriend in a place like this, because there are plenty of predators around here looking for fresh meat. Deep down, he really wanted to get down and dirty with her, but those two, crazy bitches, could kill the vibe at any moment. And right now, right in front of him, those two were kicking down doors one by one, screaming at the top of their lungs. Tushin, get out here right now. You can't do this to Xiaosheng. Boss, I'm switching scenes to a warehouse somewhere. As Tushin walked up in a daze, a series of voices called out one after another. Boss 2, where do you want these 20 containers? Boss 2, this warehouse doesn't have a cold storage unit. Aren't you worried about things melting? Tushin waved his hand and replied, move the heaters, and ice makers inside don't block the entrance. Just stack the ice blocks over here. All right then, Boss 2, I'm making the delivery. Outside, Wang Haoyu was trying to squeeze his way out of the massive crowd surrounding Tushin's warehouse. He looked utterly confused, having no idea what Tushin was up to. So he quickly headed over to Jiang Xiaosheng to report that Tushin had rented a massive warehouse in the suburbs. He's buying all this heavy machinery. I don't even know what it's for, and they're moving it all into the warehouse. Jiang Xiaosheng was also incredibly puzzled, wondering what on earth Tushin was trying to do. Lina spotted the staff from the Lu Cheng Hotel from a distance, carrying boxes of supplies to set up a banquet inside. With a shocked and surprised look on her face, she immediately alerted Jiang Xiaosheng to come and see. Inside the warehouse, the kitchen staff and servers were busy, preparing everything perfectly. The tables and chairs were elegant, looking like a royal feast. Lina saw this grand banquet setup and immediately turned to Xiaosheng, saying to her, even the red carpet has been rolled out. Is it possible Tushin is going to pull a surprise proposal, and then guests from all over will start pouring in? Jiang Xiaosheng, listening to Li Na paint such a beautiful future, immediately let out a smug expression. With both hands on her hips, she said to Li Na, even if he proposes, it's not like I've said yes yet. Come with me, Lina, let's go see just how much effort he's putting in. Tushin was currently preoccupied with supervising the banquet preparations and the delivery of supplies, when he suddenly noticed Jiang Xiaosheng walking toward him. She called out, hey Tushin, what's with all this stuff you're buying? Tushin's face remained deadpan. He gave her a lazy glance and said, are you here to help me move boxes? We'll get to it. Once you're done, I'll tell you. When Jiang Xiaosheng heard move boxes, her face soured and she gritted her teeth in disbelief. Thinking she had misheard, her mind started racing. Is he for real? I'm about to become a wealthy lady. Why should I have to do this kind of grunt work? Lina nudged her and whispered a reminder. He's probably testing you. He wants to see if you have what it takes to be his wife. Jiang Xiaosheng snapped out of it after hearing Lina's words. She walked over to the boxes, placed her hand on one, and gave Tushin a forced smile. Fine, Tushin. It's not like I'm some stuck-up princess. She hoisted a massive, heavy box onto her shoulder. She had always been pampered, never having to lift a finger for anything, let alone manual labor like hauling freight. Sweat began to pour down her face. Her limbs were shaking like a leaf, but she told herself, to be a rich man's wife, one must have both character and class. If I can just pass this test, Tushin will definitely marry me today. Lina, seeing her best friend about to marry a rich heir, felt a twinge of jealousy and stepped forward. She intentionally leaned over to try and seduce Tushin. Tushin, Oppa, let me help you too. But in her mind, she had a hidden agenda. What rich kid isn't a total dog for a pretty face? As long as I show a little bit of devotion, even if I don't become his wife, I can at least score something out of this. Tushin saw them like that and smirked to himself. But he was thinking something completely different. No point in letting free labor go to waste. 1,000 tables of food and 2,000 tons of ice. Even if the hotel and the factory sent more people, it would still take forever to finish. By the time late afternoon rolled around, all the work was finally done. Jiang Xiaosheng really got a taste of hard labor today. Her limbs were so sore she could barely stand. She was completely drenched in sweat, cursing Tushin under her breath for being such a jerk. Moving stuff from morning till night, and he didn't even buy me a meal. Once I'm officially his wife, I'm definitely taking every cent he has. Lina wasn't doing any better. In fact, she was so wrecked she just collapsed onto the floor, joining in to call Tushin a total bastard, making us move such heavy crap. Those ice blocks, they had to be over 110 pounds each. She was shaking so hard she couldn't even get up anymore. Jiang Xiaosheng kept trying to motivate herself. Everything is checked and ready. Tushin's about to announce I'm his bride, right? The wealthy guests should be arriving any minute. Lina suddenly felt something was off. There's still no sign of any guests. The food is already getting cold. Is this just how rich people act, being all weird? Meanwhile, Tushin was chatting with the delivery drivers, praising them for their hard work today. The remaining balance will be transferred in a week. as per the contract. Not only that, he also gave each person bonus red envelope. Everyone's eyes widened and their jaws dropped, thinking, there must be 10,000 yuan in here, holding their rewards. Everyone shouted in unison with joy. Thank you, Boss 2. Boss, you're freaking awesome. At that moment, Zhang Xiaosheng came dragging her feet, shaking as she stood behind him. She asked Tushin, do you have anything else important to say to me? Hearing this, Tushin could only glance at that vile woman. He coldly brushed past her, dropping a bitter remark. Oh right, thanks a lot for your help. But there's no reward, so you can leave now. Still clinging to her delusional dream, she turned around and said, stop joking around. I know you have a surprise for me. Call the guests, let's just get married already. Tushin turned back in shock, giving her a lazy, bored look. Get married, boy, I'd love to. But right now, not only have I sold my house, but I'm also drowning in debt. You still want to be with me? Li Na, overhearing the conversation, looked equally horrified. No way, the feast alone is over 10 million, and the venue costs tens of thousands. With all this, how could you have no money? Tushin quickly explained. All this is for a wealthy donor who wants to do charity. They want to help with poverty relief out there, so I'm just helping out. How could I possibly pull this off alone? Zhang Xiaosheng's face instantly turned pale. A dark cloud of rage seemed to surround her. She gnashed her teeth and hissed at Tushin. So that means... She screamed in a blind rage, you bastard, you played me! Then she lunged at Tushin, wanting to make him pay for catfishing her. Tushin simply stepped aside, sending her face planting into the ground. She sprawled on the floor, her trashy mouth still spewing curses. Tushin, you piece of shit! You're not some rich heir at all. I wouldn't marry you in a million years. Tushin didn't want to waste another breath on her. With a cold stare, he said, who'd even want a gold digger like you? Hearing that Zhang Xiaosheng had a look of pure dark malice in her eyes, she glared at him intensely, gritting her teeth in speechless fury. Then she turned and stormed off, not forgetting to spit out a few more insults as she went. You bastard, just you wait. I'm going to make you regret this. Li Na wasn't about to let it slide either. She pointed her finger right at Tushin and said, you're finished. You are absolutely cooked for sure. Tushin's face remained completely indifferent. He didn't give a damn about anything they said. He just sneered, calling them total idiots. Just wait until doomsday hits and see how you guys hold up. With that, he decisively shut the warehouse doors. He locked the bar carefully. Looking back at the mountain of supplies neatly organized, inside the warehouse, he did one last inventory check. Everything was ready. Now all that's left is to wait for the apocalypse. He reached out and opened his palm. A stream of white light radiated out. This was the skill he had acquired after his rebirth. Spatial storage. Tushin intended to put every single item in this warehouse into that subdimension. By now, the sky outside had turned to late afternoon. Strange glows of blue light were flickering through the warehouse windows. The end of the world was drawing closer and closer. Cut to a high-rise building somewhere else. Dusk had already fallen. The twinkling stars looked magical and dreamlike, blending with the lights shining from the apartment windows. It created such a beautiful scenery. Inside one of the rooms, a large, heavy-set man made a declaration to Zhang Xiaosheng. From now on, follow Xiaowu and you'll live the high life. In this city of Shangdu, just mentioning my name will get you plenty of respect. Xiaowu, standing nearby, chimed in. Sis, Xiaosheng Tushin treated you like garbage. You should have dumped him ages ago and stayed with me. Well, then I'll be looking forward to your performance. Xiaowu promised that his big brother would get revenge for her. Leaning against Xiaowu, she thought to herself, actually, Wang Xiaowu is pretty loaded too. His big brother is quite wealthy here in Shangdu. Being with him is way better than that deadbeat dog. Referring, of course, to Tushin. Little did they know Tushin had been there for a while, overhearing their entire conversation. He spoke up while eating. This woman really isn't picky, is she? Zhang Xiaosheng was startled by that voice. It was Tushin. How the hell did he get here? Wang Xiaowu flared up in anger. He pointed at Tushin and shouted to his boss. Big bro, it's that little brat over there. He's the one who laid hands on me earlier. The fat man looked over at Tushin, who was still casually enjoying his meal, completely ignoring the man's threatening posture. The big guy lit up a cigarette, staring Tushin down as he spoke. I was just about to come looking for you myself. I can't believe you had the guts to touch my brother. You've got a lot of nerve. Behind him, 3 or 4 thugs were waiting for the signal. Wang Xiaowu asked in surprise. Wait, big bro, you know him? The fat man Hai explained. This kid borrowed 600,000 yuan from me. He put his house up as collateral. I bet it's just about time to pay up. Wang Xiaowu laughed and said, looks like we can settle the new grudge and the old debt. All at once. Zhang Xiaosheng and Li Na, standing nearby, jumped in to talk trash as well. You dare owe money to Brother Hai? I'm afraid you won't be able to pay it back in a lifetime. Thank God I already cut ties with him. He'll borrow from anyone. He's got a death wish. He really doesn't know what's coming for him. By now, Tushin had finished his meal. He took a napkin to wipe his mouth and complained, "Can't a guy just eat in peace?" The fat boss stepped right up to Tushen's face, looking absolutely livid as he spoke. "Kid, you'd better have my money tomorrow. Still drinking wine in a fancy hotel, huh? Are you trying to disrespect me? Don't tell me. You can actually pull 600,000 yuan out of your ass in one day." Wang Haowu, looking incredibly salty, yelled out, "He can't do jack shat, big bro. Don't even waste your breath on him. This loser dared to hit me, just beat him to death." Seeing the situation escalate, the hotel manager rushed in to intervene. "Gentlemen, what are you doing? Let's just settle this calmly." The boss frowned and raised his voice at her. "Talk it out fine. Tell this brat to get on his knees and kowtow. If he apologizes to me and my brother, then this matter is settled." The manager broke out in a cold sweat, not knowing how to handle his demand. She glanced back at Tu Shen and asked, "Mr. Tu, what exactly is going on?" Tu Shen replied coldly, "Oh, it's nothing. Just some nobodies causing trouble." The boss flew into a rage upon hearing that. He slammed his fat, chubby hand on the table and yelled, "Brat, I'm done being nice to you. You're officially cooked today. Not even God can save you now." Suddenly from behind, a man strode in arrogantly with a group of henchmen following him. He immediately spoke up. "What kind of game are you guys playing here?" This man had a fierce, rugged face, with a goatee and eyes full of murderous intent. He frowned at the fat man and growled, "Who gave you permission to start ST here?" The fat man and Tushin both turned toward the voice at the same time. One name immediately popped into their heads, Gao Chang. The fat man instantly became submissive, putting on a fawning face. "Brother Chang, what brings you here, sir?" Gao Chang replied with a grimace. "I'm here for some serious business today. Anyone who dares to cause a scene won't be getting mercy from me." The fat man broke out in a cold sweat, thinking to himself, "This Gao Chang is a big-shot businessman in Chengdu. He has deep connections and plenty of muscle under his command. He's not someone you want to mess with." Thinking this, he lowered his voice. "Yes, sir. Go ahead with your business, Brother Chang. I'll swing by later to properly host you." Tushin suddenly recognized the man before him as Gao Chang, nicknamed the Skull Crusher. He thought back to his past life. During the apocalypse, Gao Chang was a major power in Chengdu. His top lieutenant was the Hell Chef. That's right, I heard before that. The Liucheng Hotel was the ground zero for the first mutations. After the apocalypse arrived, from the looks of it, Gao Chang might become the Skull Crusher, all thanks to the atavistic mutation that appeared early here. If that's the case, then my bad. Kokyan noticed a gaze staring intently at him. He turned his head toward Su Chen. Su Chen's eyes turned sharp and cold, thinking to himself, "I can't let him get his hands on this atavistic mutation." Gao Qiang also sensed something unusual about this interesting kid standing in front of him. In a hotel room, light from a luxury suite spilled out into the hallway. Only the click-clack of high heels hitting the floor could be heard. A pair of long, fair legs, belonging to some babe, stepped into the room. The owner of those gorgeous legs was Ya Lin, the Hell's Chef. Beside her was the Skull Crusher Gao Qiang. As soon as he entered, he spoke with a smile to the person waiting in the room. "CEO son, I've brought Duanya here." Duanya stepped forward, her pink hair making her stand out even more. With sparkling eyes, she looked at CEO Sun and asked, "May I ask why you wanted to see me, CEO Sun?" Hearing this, CEO Sun laughed gleefully. Holding a glass of red wine in his hand, he said, "I've heard that Miss Duan is a great beauty. Today I finally get to meet you in person." Then the fat guy put on a sleazy, perverted look. He watched Duanya as he held the glass in front of her, his eyes constantly scanning her body from top to bottom. In a smooth tone, he said, "Come on, have a drink." Looking at the blood-red wine before her, suspicion began to rise in Duanya's heart. She grew tense, breaking into a cold sweat. In fact, her intuition was spot on. In that wine glass, CEO Sun had secretly slipped in something no good. Back to Su Chen, who was currently sipping from a glass of red wine in his hand. Looking out, the city lights were glowing with vibrant colors. He suddenly recalled his past life. Zhang Shaoxing and I hid in the basement together, which was how we survived the apocalypse. Extreme heat. Didn't expect that after dumping her this time, she'd follow me all the way here. At that point, he stared intently down at the pool below. He continued, "Perfect timing to settle all old and new scores right here." Down at the pool, Wang Xiaoyu and his boss were having a great time. Sensing something unusual, Brother Hai glanced at Xiaoyu and asked, "Hey bro, do you feel like it's hotter tonight than it was this morning?" Wang Xiaoyu agreed, exclaiming, "Exactly. That's why I suggested hitting the pool to cool down." and a good chance for the girls to get into their bikinis too. Mentioning that the two creeps' expressions shifted. Wang Xiaoyu gave a sleazy laugh and told his boss, "Just thinking about it, doesn't it get you hyped, boss?" Brother Hai chimed in, squeezing a rubber duck, fantasizing. "Not bad, kid. You sure know how to play your cards, right?" Jiang, Xiaoxing, and Li Na had finished changing into their swimsuits. Their gorgeous curves and fair skin were on display, catching everyone's eyes. Sensing something as well, Lena shielded her eyes and blurted out, "Xiaoxing, look at the moon. It almost feels like the sun." Xiaoxing agreed, "Yeah, it's way too bright." Clueless Wang Xiaoyu, unaware of the impending disaster, held Xiaoxing's hand and started sweet-talking her. He looked up at the moon and told her, "Xiaoxing, don't you see? My love for you is as beautiful as the moon tonight. Tonight, this is the proof of our love." Xiaoxing didn't care for these cheesy lines at all. She complained to him, "Ugh, I'm dying of heat. Hurry up and take me to the pool." Su Chen remained standing high up watching. Through the glass, he saw the moon growing larger and larger, surrounded by a fiery red halo. He gasped, "Your guy's love is about to go up in smoke." He sipped a glass of wine, staring toward the moon. Happy apocalypse once again. The moon was now drawing closer by the second, radiating an intense extreme heat. The thermal energy began to take a serious toll on the Earth. Down below, Wang Xiaoyu's group started feeling the temperature skyrocket. Feeling dizzy, everyone's expressions turned pale and distressed. About 3 seconds later, the group finally snapped out of it, screaming in panic and scattering in all directions. "Why is the moon suddenly burning like this? Ow, it hurts so bad." "No time for the pool. Get back to the hotel fast." Trailing behind, Brother Hai lumbered along with his heavy physique. "Wait for me." A few people playing cards inside the hotel were also drawn in by the strange behavior of Xiaoyu's crew. They blurted out in confusion, "Wonder what's up with Brother Hai and the others." It suddenly got so bright outside. Another guy brushed it off. "Just chasing girls. You wouldn't understand, the boss is kind of fun." Suddenly, Xiaoyu's group kicked the door open and charged inside, under the shocked gazes of their subordinates. Everyone's bodies were scorched and blistered. Just a moment later, and they would have turned into roasted pigs. Seeing this scene, the subordinates all stood there jaw-dropped in confusion. "Yo, what's going on? Why is your skin all red like that?" Wang Xiaoyu scanned the room frantically the moment he entered, immediately yelling, "Water, get me water now." Behind him, the two women were wailing in pain. It burns so much. Help, I'm gonna die from the heat." Suddenly, Xiaoyu spotted a fish tank in the distance. Like he'd found a gold mine, he shouted, "Water! There's water!" Without a second thought, the three of them rushed over and flipped the entire tank over, ignoring the glass shards cutting into them. Like a desert finally seeing rain, Wang Xiaoyu sighed in relief. "I'm alive!" But those two women immediately got greedy. "Get out! This water is mine, back off!" The lackeys looked at them, and the whole pack of them was completely shook, wondering, "What's wrong with you guys? Where's Brother Hai?" Only then did Xiaoyu remember his boss. He jolted and yelled out, "Oh right, where's the boss?" Because Brother Hai's physique was so massive, he couldn't keep up with Xiaoyu's group. As a result, that terrifying heat had scorched him until he was covered in blisters from head to toe. His eyes rolled back white with wisps of smoke drifting out of his mouth. He looked exactly like a literal roasted pig. Dragging his body, he clung to the door and croaked for help. The subordinates, seeing their boss in such a wrecked state, rushed over in a panic. "Boss, are you okay?" "Burn cream, get the burn cream, hurry." The boss turned around bitter and resentful to blame Xiaoyu. "How dare you leave me behind?" Xiaoyu begged in terror. "Boss, I messed up, I'm sorry." "I'll never abandon you again." Back in the room, where Duanya Gaochang and CEO Sun were located. The sleazy fat guy, after handing wine to Duanya, but of course she didn't drink it, immediately caught an attitude. Beautiful Duan, you're not drinking." Gao Qiang spoke up to cover for her. "CEO Sun, I've already prepared a banquet. How about..." Sun then put on that high and mighty rich guy face, acting all entitled with words that reeked of money. "In this city of Shangdu, when I, Mr. Sun, pour a drink, no one has ever dared to refuse. Little Gao, this is none of your business." Duanya glanced at Gao Chang, mind racing with thoughts. "Damn you, Gao Chang! You're throwing me under the bus just to kiss up to this horny fat pig." It seems Gao Chang would sell out his own friends just for some quick clout. Looking at the fat guy in front of her, Duanya knew he relied on his iron-fisted rule over Shangdu to victimize countless women. Today his sights were definitely set on me. Looking at the glass of wine in front of her, Duanya, something is definitely fishy. She told herself she absolutely must not drink it. But with things like this, What am I supposed to do now? Suddenly from outside, a beam of light from that freakish moon shone into the room. The fat guy and Gao Chang were hit directly in the eyes by that glare. They quickly turned away, crying out in pain. Ah, what the hell is going on? My eyes. They screamed, quick, close the curtains, damn it, it's so hot. Gao King looked completely bewildered. He glanced over at the fat CEO's son. Something's not right about this. This is impossible. The fat guy agreed and said, let's go. Let's head downstairs and see what's happening, leaving only Duanya behind. She let out a sigh of relief, having escaped the clutches of that hideous fat pig. Downstairs, the hotel manager was frantically waving her hands, trying to reassure everyone. Please, everyone, stay calm. We've already contacted the rescue teams, so please just wait here. But the agitated crowd refused to just sit there, waiting to die, hurling all sorts of toxic insults. Wait for what, your mother's ass? I make millions every damn minute. How the hell can I afford to waste time here? At that moment, Gao Chang glanced at a subordinate and asked, Lao Miao, what's the deal? The guy replied, the moon just flared up out of nowhere. The temperature skyrocketed. It must be over 160 degrees out there. According to the news, nearly 100 people are already injured. CEO's son immediately pulled out his phone to call someone. Hey, Minister Zhao, we're over at the Lucheng Hotel. Can you send someone to pick me up? Looks like he's trying to pull some strings to bail out of here as soon as possible. Once the fat guy hung up, Gao Chang immediately asked, what do we do now? The fat guy replied, right now the authorities are going all out to secure the power grid. They can't afford any slip-ups. There's no personnel available to come here. Things are getting a bit messy. Back to Wang Xiaoyu and his group. Brother Hai is having burn ointment applied by one of his lackeys. Red blistered burns cover his body. Everywhere that guy applies the medicine, Hai shrieks in pain. It hurts. Take it easy. The subordinate suggests it would be better for the boss to go to a hospital. Brother Hai, looking miserable, quickly tells Xiaoyu with his big mouth, don't worry, I'll have Xiao Dao bring a car around to pick us up. The one named Xiao Dao receives the call from his boss and says breathlessly, Brother Hai, I'm down in the garage. It's scorching. Something feels off. Everyone wait a second, I'm on my way. With that, he immediately drives the car out, unaware that strange light is still covering everything. He wonders, why is it so bright out? The temperature seems... The tires, unable to withstand the extreme heat, suddenly explode. The car can no longer move forward and has to pull over to the side of the road. Rushing out of the car, the subordinate panics. You've got to be kidding me. It's hot enough to blow the tires. What kind of crazy-ass weather is this? He immediately pulls out his phone to call Brother Hai. Hello? Brother Hai? All 4 tires blew out. I can't make it to you right now. I have to turn back. But before he can take 3 steps, his shoes melt and fuse to the road surface, causing him to lose his balance and fall. He falls face first onto the blistering hot pavement. His eyes instinctively glance to the side. There lies a corpse scorched by the light, reduced to a mummified husk. He tries to push himself up, swearing, holy shit! But his face is already being melted and fused to the boiling asphalt. Through the phone's speaker, Brother Hai's group can clearly hear those agonizing screams. Every face is filled with horror. They can't comprehend what is happening. The phone hits the ground hard, emitting nothing but static and garbled moans. Inside a room where the AC is set to 77.7 degrees, everything is perfectly cool. On a large bed, Su Chen is lying comfortably fast asleep, paying no mind to the chaos unfolding outside. The ill-fated lackey, in a mere instant, was incinerated by the light and the boiling asphalt, transforming into a desiccated corpse. Meanwhile, radio announcements blared incessantly. As the moon suddenly emits massive amounts of heat, outdoor temperatures have spiked to 167 degrees. Ground temperatures have also reached 212 degrees. This event has resulted in nearly 100 casualties. Please stay indoors. Do not go out to avoid skin and respiratory burns. At the city's power grid center, the light relentlessly hammered the generators, causing everything to boil over. Machines, under the stress of immense thermal energy, continuously radiated heat, pushing everything into a critical overheat state. Short-circuiting crackles and electrical sparks began to fly. About 10 seconds later, the inevitable happened. A massive explosion rocked the facility. Every generator was simultaneously wiped out. Returning to Haige and his group, the phone connection with that subordinate was completely severed. The automated message played, "The number you have dialed is unavailable." Sensing something was deathly wrong, he said to the remaining crew, "It looks like Xiao Dao is toast." Lackey reported back, "Boss, all the other rooms in the hotel are booked solid. This is the last one. We have no choice but to cram in here." Zhang Xiaoshan and Li Na immediately stood up to protest the suggestion. Are you freaking kidding me? How can I share a room with all these men? Exactly, I want my own room. While they were all bickering, the lights suddenly went dead. Haiga, covered in painful blisters, cursed out in rage, "God damn it! What is the deal with this godforsaken place? Why did the power cut out?" With the power gone, the AC stopped and the heat began to rise. Sweltering, they stripped off their shirts and whined, "Haiga, the temperature in here has got to be over 104 degrees by now. If we keep huddling together like this, we're all gonna kick the bucket from heat stroke sooner or later." Haiga realized the situation was foobar and spoke up. "We need a game plan." Zhang Xiaoshan seemed to remember something. She blurted out, "I remember Su Chen's presidential suite. Has a swimming pool. We could just go and take it." At that same moment in Su Chen's room, he was comfortably soaking in the pool. Thinking back to his past life, Shangdu's power grid had a hidden defect due to poor maintenance. It was a ticking time bomb. Despite calling in extra manpower, the city's power station still blew up. Basically, anyone connected to the city's power company suffered a total blackout. That's why he specifically chose a room with a pool and prepared floor-standing AC units and high-capacity batteries for a backup power supply. To keep the room temperature stable, he even added ice for that extra chill. Snapping out of his thoughts, he was now sitting on the sofa, leisurely holding a glass of wine. Sitting cross-legged, he was purely vibing in the comfort. Suddenly, his empty stomach let out a loud growl. He muttered, "Man, I'm starving." Su Chen reached his hand out in front of him, and the otherworld space opened up. Inside was a feast of delicacies that he had prepped beforehand. In this space, nothing could ever spoil, so he could store whatever he wanted indefinitely. It was like a massive refrigerator, but on steroids. Looking at the bowl of rice before him, Su Chen looked satisfied as he snapped his chopsticks ready to dig in. He thought to himself, "First day of the apocalypse. Let's just have a simple breakfast." He placed a piece of kimchi on his rice, wondering when Gao Qiang's big break was finally going to show up. Suddenly, a thunderous pounding erupted at his door, accompanied by shouting and screaming of his name. "Open up! Open the door, Su Chen. I know you're in there." The door swung open. The cold air came rushing out in waves. Haiga's eyes immediately widened in pure shock. "So chill. Is this real AC?" Su Chen's eyes turned ice cold as he looked at the crowd gathered at his doorstep. He spoke with a chilling tone. "What do you want?" Wang Xiaoyu peered into the room. That looked like a total paradise. His eyes instantly lit up. Pointing at the AC unit, he yelled to the boss about the ice. "Boss, it's ice, actual ice. This room doesn't just have a pool. It's got power and food, too." Seeing the situation before them, Lina and Zhang Xiaoshan started berating Su Chen. "We're literally about to die out here. How can you be living it up all by yourself in here?" "Exactly, you're being so selfish. Get the hell out of this room. Walk out on your own. Don't force us to get rough with you." Haiga dragged his massive frame to the doorway and began to threaten him. "Listen here, brat, you owe me big time and it's time to pay up. Hand over this room to me, and we'll count it as interest for the loan you took. Otherwise, I'm gonna toss you out." But as he took a single step, he froze in his tracks. Without saying a single word, Su Chen pulled out a six-shooter and shot the fat guy straight in the gut. A loud bang rang out, leaving the group in absolute shock. Haiga's face went completely pale. His whole body trembled as he stared down at the wound in his belly. Su Chen stared at him with a cold, expressionless face. He growled a threat. "Take one more step and you're dead." Zhang Xiaoshan, Li Na, and Wang Xiaoyu whimpered in pure terror. "A gun. He actually has a piece. Where the hell did he get it?" Haiga's face was a wreck of agony. He spat through gritted teeth, frowning as he spoke with heavy breath to Su Chen. "Su Chen, I can't believe you actually scored a gun." "You're good. I fold." Just as he finished speaking, another bang echoed out. To the absolute shock of Wang Xiaowu and Xiao San, the gun barrel was thick with white smoke, signaling that another bullet had just been fired. The fat guy's earth-shattering screams rang out as he sobbed. Wailing in pain, he glanced down at the leg that had just been blasted by a bullet. Su Chen continued to point the gun toward them, arrogantly saying, "If you're gonna get lost, do it fast. Cut the crap, do you have a death wish?" At this moment, a powerful murderous aura radiated from Su Chen. Glimmering purple lights gradually appeared behind him. Staring intensely at them, he continued, "I'm counting to 3, get the hell out of my sight immediately. 1, 2, 3. Finally, at that time in the hotel lobby, Gao Qiang was pointing fingers around. With a face full of resentment, he said to the manager, "What for a high-end hotel like yours? How can there be no food?" The manager could only bow and apologize repeatedly. She looked up and hurriedly explained, "Someone ordered 1,000 banquet tables the day before yesterday. The food supplies are almost completely exhausted. According to the schedule, the delivery was supposed to arrive today. At this moment, the fat guy's son Debbie sat sprawled out on the sofa, constantly pouring bottles of water over himself. He snapped at the manager in a low, grumbly voice. "Then bring all the food and water up to me right now." These words triggered an outrage from the surrounding crowd. One person shouted loudly, "You've hogged all the bottled water already, and now you want to hog all the food too. Damn it, you're not leaving us any way to survive. You think you're hot stuff just because you have money. If you're so rich, why don't you just leave? The water and food should be shared equally among everyone. On what grounds do you get to take it all for yourself?" Suddenly, Sundebi's bodyguards quickly used their fists to suppress the crowd. "What's this? Is someone unhappy? Fine, I'll personally kick him out now. A bunch of losers like you think you're worthy of competing with me." In this incredibly chaotic situation, from a distance, Haige and his lackeys came running while screaming, "Help, Su Chen is killing people." Looking at the wounds on Haige's body, Su Chen glanced over. Knowing immediately that the injury was caused by a gun, not many people could get their hands on a gun. Looks like the guy upstairs is someone very dangerous. Speaking of Haige's condition, his state is getting worse by the minute. At this moment, Zhang Xiaoshan came up with a wicked idea. She screamed at the top of her lungs, announcing to everyone that in the room, Su Chen has electricity. He has air conditioning and even a swimming pool. The surrounding crowd was immediately drawn in by her words. Someone spoke up. "Are you for real? Girl, don't play with us." Xiaoshan then recounted, "I saw it with my own eyes. I even saw ice cubes and tons of food. Even fried chicken and wine. It's a total paradise." The crowd like drowning men clutching at straws. All demanded in unison for Su Chen to share. "We're roasting like a sauna down here." While that guy is actually living it up, damn it. How the hell does that kid have ice in his hands? And even gets to blast the AC? While we have to suffer down here. Let's go up there. Force that kid to hand over the ice and the AC. Gao King saw the crowd getting riled up, glanced at his lackey and said, "Follow them and check it out. I don't need to teach you what needs to be done right." The lackey understood and immediately nodded. "Don't worry, Changa." The door to Su Chen's room was opened once again and cold. Air continued to surge out. Su Chen's voice echoed from inside the room. "What's the matter?" A man outside spoke up. "Friend, we've come to negotiate with you." After speaking, he thought to himself, "So cool. It feels like every single pore is finally at ease." Another person from the crowd continued, "Don't you see we're in a crisis right now? How come your place is the only one in this whole hotel with AC? Can you let us in to cool off for a bit? Young people should learn to respect their elders." "Looking at you, friend. I'm sure you're the type who loves helping others." A little brat peered into the room. His eyes darted around as he asked, "Where's the fried chicken?" Spotting the box of fried chicken Su Chen hadn't finished yet, still sitting on the table, the kid immediately put on a greedy, craving look, rushing straight into the room, right before Su Chen's astonished eyes, running and screaming at the top of his lungs, "Mom, I want fried chicken." But after only taking a few steps, that greedy brat took a full hit, direct kick to the stomach. His body was sent flying several meters away. The child's parents witnessed the scene, instantly jumping in shock and horror, screaming hysterically, "My son!" The crowd also felt a surge of indignation. Su Chen remained indifferent, not giving a damn whether they lived or died. He nonchalantly shoved his hands into his pockets and replied, "Keep your kid on a short leash. Otherwise, I don't mind handling the parenting for you." "Then what?" The crowd glared at Su Chen with furious expressions and said, "He's just a child. How could you actually lay a hand on him? You murderer! You're nothing but a killer!" Two agitated people were charging toward him, relentlessly hurling insults at Su Chen. "Your kind doesn't deserve to be here. Get the hell out. He's all by himself. Everyone get him." Su Chen was seen quietly drawing his pistol. Next, it was a direct shot toward the aggressive mob. Following the blast, a bullet tore straight through a man's head. Blood splattered everywhere. Everyone could only gasp for air. The man slowly slumped to the ground. The crowd's eyes immediately filled with sheer terror. Glancing at the corpse on the floor, Su Chen stood there, gun raised as a threat. "I might be alone, but each of you only has one life to lose." Wang Xiaowu's cries for his boss echoed throughout the hotel. His boss, the fat guy Haige, was now lying there in a heap, his eyes rolled back, devoid of any life. Wang Xiaowu tried to get closer, but was held back by two lackeys. He screamed in a panic, "Why did you guys leave my boss outside?" One lackey quickly replied, "Calm down a bit. Haige is already dead." Haige's wounds had been festering for a long time. In this heat and without any medicine, there's no way Haiyan could have held on any longer. Wang Xiaowu screamed out in a rage, "Su Chen, It's all because of that bastard Su Chen. Back at Su Chen's room, Zhang Xiaoshan's voice suddenly rang out. Chenan, I know you don't have the heart to shoot us. You were just scaring Wang Dahai. Su Chen, have you really forgotten how much I love you? When pushed to the brink, people will do anything just to survive. Lina and Zhang Xiaoshan were no exception. The two of them, dressed provocatively, were sashaying in front of the door. Su Chen continued. Just let us in. I'll do whatever you want, big brother. Let us in to cool off a bit. We're more than willing to spend the night with you, both me and Xiaoshan. Su Chen watched their little show and gave a cold smirk. What a touching sisterhood. Fine, then come on in. Xiaoshan and Li Na felt like they'd hit the jackpot. Their moods flipped instantly. Really? I knew Su Chen wouldn't just abandon me. You're such a kind-hearted soul, big brother. Right then, Wang Xiaowu suddenly charged out of nowhere. His face was contorted with bitterness. Eyes wide and blank, he kept cursing up a storm. Get the fuck out of my way. I'm gonna kill him. Su Chen just closed his eyes and said coldly, anyone who steps through this door is dead. The moment the words left his lips, he swung a baseball bat straight at Wang Xiaowu, sending him flying 30 feet away. His face was left completely mangled from the hit.